Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is a Monday, the 11th of August, 2025. And I am here today to tell you not to get your knickers in a twist. We are not going to Valhalla today, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. It is a Monday, so as well as some X-Files, we are going to be looking at the charts today, the DXY, Bitcoin dominance. That's important to look at today. We'll look at the total market cap. We're going to look at the calendar, see what's planned for this week. Not expecting an awful lot. Then we're going to talk about Vitalik. We're going to talk about XRP a little bit. We're going to talk about ADA. The XRP price target for me is too high. The ADA price I think is too low. We're going to talk about Pi, the waste of time that token is. We're going to talk about AI or die. Okay? Now, I don't think that means you physically in your house. I think it's talking about technological advancements. I think that's what we're talking about. Good morning to everybody that's in chat today. I think we have Bullish Bull in chat. Kishan is here. Hidden Agendas is here. Mags is here. Good morning to you. We have a newcomer. Old Gomer. Good morning to you, sir. I hope you are well. Turn my mic up a little bit more. Okay, there we go. And KB is in chat. I hope you are well. Right then, before we begin, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central European time, we have Maple Finance on your screen now in front of you. It is going to be a quiz night. This is going to be another hybrid show where we're going to have about 15 or 20 minutes where we look at some new things from Maple, and then we're going to get straight into the quiz. Probably 25 to 30 questions if we can get the Oracle to stick to the plan and not talk too much. I'm joking. I'm the one that talks too much. But we are going to do Maple on Wednesday night. It's either going to be from the office and the studio or it's going to be from home, depending on how we can do it. Then we have the next 2 Wednesdays after that. We're also going to be doing a Mew night and we're going to be doing the Wolf Swap night, but they will come in due course. But first of all, a good morning to everybody that's watching on Binance Square, which is very few at this moment in time. Only 22 of you over there. I hope you're doing well. But let's get into this. Now, I said last week that we were going to crab basically between 112 and 119,000. You can clearly see in front of you we're not at 119,000 anymore. We're at 121.6. But I'm telling you, it's short-lived. Okay, we're going to come back down probably today or tomorrow. So let's not get too excited. I'm not expecting us to go to 133, 135,000 today or tomorrow. It's not going to happen. Okay, it happened over a weekend. We have a CME gap that I'm going to show you in a minute. It's nice, yes, to be at 121.6, but I'm not expecting it to go any higher. I did say, however, on Friday or Thursday, can't remember which now. I think it was Friday, that Ethereum was just waiting to explode, and it did. And for all of you that have been holding Ethereum all this time, congrats. This is your time to shine. Everybody out there, okay? Everybody out there is literally boiling their own pee right now because they are so fed up of seeing Ethereum people talking about how well they've done. But congratulations, $4,300. We are going to look at the Ethereum chart today as well. XRP coming in at 330. Interesting, because I think it was 333 on Friday, so it hasn't really moved, which is surprising. Everything's now been closed, but again, $5 to $7 for XRP for me. BNB back over $800. Solana, bit of a surprise. I don't think Solana is as high as it should be. I think Solana right now should be pushing up towards $200, and it isn't. Don't know why. Not too sure. Don't have a crystal ball either, but I do expect that to move up if Ethereum continues to go and everything else continues to go. Dogecoin, waste of time. Don't go anywhere near that. Tron, not a fan, as we all know. Cardano, back in its safe space, 80 cents. Okay? Again, I'd like it to be near $1, but These are smaller alts than Ethereum, and if we do follow the process, Bitcoin, Ethereum, then the alts. Maybe we need to wait for Ethereum to finish before we move on. And Hype is sit in 11th position. Again, not expecting it to break into the top 10, but there has been a change. Do you remember last Friday I said Chainlink is going to be at $25 before you can blink? $22 today. Again, this is a big coin that nobody really pays that much attention to. Okay, it's a solid project. I do hear a few people talking about Chainlink, but not as many as I hear talking about all of the other coins outside the top 30 or 40. Chainlink is a great project, and then we're not going to look at any more of them. I'm expecting some big gainers today. Lido is up. Of course, you would expect that in line with Ethereum. Pump.fun, I'm not going to go anywhere near that. It's still up, but then again, so is the rest of the market. Not a fan, never going to buy Pump.fun. Ethena is up. Chronos, look at that. All ye of little faith. I was backing Chronos at 5 or 6 cents, but I was saying, in all fairness, I was saying that I do think that we are going to struggle if we have, if we don't move soon. We're just going to be stuck in the doldrums. We did move. There's reasons for us to move, by the way. It's part of the blue chip ETF from Donald Trump's, is it World Liberty Financial are launching it? Or is it another part of Trump Media? I think Trump Media are launching it. That's got the big boys in there. And Chronos is going to do well. It's not going to go to $2.71. It's probably going to go 60 cents to $1 in that range. I think more 60 cents. So again, some decent gainers. I'm not expecting too many losers today. Not many down there at the bottom, a few percent here or there. Not really a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to get into, so we're not going to stay on here. Now, I found a way of fixing the X-Files on a Monday morning. There isn't a lot to talk about on a Monday with regards to tweets because most people have the weekend off. But as you know, at Crypto Warehouse, there are no weekends off. There are no days off. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to put my own tweets into the X-Files on a Monday if I can't find things to talk about. And that's what I'm going to do moving forward if I don't find anything to talk about. So, first of all, gold is up. And when gold wakes up, Peter Schiff wakes up. And what's the first thing that Peter Schiff does when gold starts to pump? He talks about Bitcoin. And what did he do? Probably 12 hours after my tweet, he started talking about Bitcoin. He is secretly obsessed with Bitcoin. If I had a competitor to my product and I was selling gold and I had a competitor to my product, the last thing I would do is keep harping on about my competition. I would talk up my own project. I wouldn't be talking about Bitcoin because all I'm going to do is sit there and go, well, I've got my allocation of Bitcoin, of gold. I'm going to go and buy Bitcoin. Federal Reserve forecasts in May, tariffs will cause high inflation. This summer, the reality is nothing of the sort. I have been saying this since June. Okay? And I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill. Powell got spooked and Powell bottled it. End of story. And I will argue to the nth degree with everybody on this topic. They are using different data. They are using data that's probably 4 to 6 weeks out of date. And the reality is that there is no inflation worthy of talking about. Now, yes, there's going to be spikes. Yes, there's going to be moves up, seasonal moves, moves in the price of oil. Of course there are. But the trend has been down now for 2 years. So where are the rate cuts? Where are the rate cuts? And why are we talking about 3 rate cuts at the end of the year? Why have we got to shoehorn rate cuts in September, October and November? Why didn't we have one in June and spread them out? Have June, maybe have September, maybe have November. Why have we got to have potentially September, October and November? He's a bottle job. Sometimes it starts with 42 tabs of TA. Sometimes it starts with a feeling. I fall clearly into the right-hand side. The majority of people who watch the Oracle, and especially the likes of KB, they fall into the left-hand side because they know what they're talking about. Okay, one thing to make very clear on this stream, I'm not a TA. I'm not a TA expert. I tell you how I see it, and it just feels right. I look at patterns. That's all I look at, okay? If you want to know about cup and handles, bullish and bearish divergence, if you want to know about liquidity gaps, you want to know about all of that kind of stuff, then the Oracle is the one to watch. He streams 3 times a week. Tuesday, I think he streams Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, but he did forget to stream on Saturday because we were... I don't know what we were doing actually, but we were doing something and he couldn't stream. So there you go. So I'm the little book. He's the big book in this instance. Not the young book and the old book. Right, let's move on. I better keep an eye on chat. Do I think altcoins will start pumping soon? I think we are going to certainly see some movement in the alts. But as I've been saying all along, I think we're going to be coming down and to the right between now and the end of September. And then middle of October, we're going to have our blow off top. Now, again, we're at 121,000. I'm going to show you the CME gap in a minute. This is where I think we're going to come down to. Right, top signal, 612. Never going to happen. Never, ever. You are going to start seeing people appear on TV telling you the most incredulous crap you've ever heard. Okay. Ethereum's co-founder says treasury companies could push ETH past Bitcoin in market value within a year. Okay? If I was... There's a show in England, okay? And the man has a button. And when you sit in this chair, if you say something he doesn't like, he presses this button. And you fly off the back of the chair. I think these news channels need somebody off screen that when somebody says this crap, they press a button and his bald head flies backwards and his feet stick up in the air and he goes into some kind of conveyor belt and out the door, okay? People have been talking about ETH flipping Bitcoin for what, 6 years? ETH needs to be more worried about XRP than Bitcoin needs to be worried about Ethereum. It's never going to catch Bitcoin. It's never going to happen. The same way as that other chap, what's he called, Tom Lee. What is he going on about? Talking about what, $50,000 or $60,000 Ethereum. What are they smoking before they go on camera? All I have is my Bar Humbug coffee. By the way, it does say Bar Humbug on this mug, by the way, because I am Bar Humbug. And these people, they need to be removed from the air. There's a lot of people that need to be removed from the air, and I totally agree that all microphones around the world should cost a minimum of $50,000 to stop people from talking on them, but there we go. Right then, I put out a video about this morning. I put the video out on YouTube about this on Saturday, I think. This is about Syrup USDC. We spend a lot of time talking about Syrup because, of course, the channel is... It's not really sponsored. We're an ambassador of Maple Finance. Now, again... I've been telling you this a good couple of years. You need a strategy from when you start taking profits. The easiest strategy to do is to sell to fiat or sell to stables. But that doesn't really help if you have inflation eating away at your gains. So what you really need is a yield-bearing stablecoin. And there are loads of them out there. But you want to be looking at the big ones. Now, there's the Athena one. Yes, there is that one. You also have Maple, which I think is second or third now. You have USDY from Ondo. They are offering you 4, 5, 6% APY. Now, each one of them has a different business case. And it's not up to me to convince you to have Syrup or there's USDY or anybody else. It's up to me to try and tell you about them. Maple Finances is paying you 6 to 7%. It's multi-chain. It's also on Solana. That's another reason I like it. But then again, so is USDY. So what I did in this video, which I turned into a tweet down here, I basically highlighted the reasons that you should be looking at Syrup USDC. But the takeaway from this isn't that. It's this. If you're dollar cost averaging out towards November or December, you really should be dollar cost averaging out of your crypto and into a stable coin, and that stable coin should be a yield-bearing stable coin. Now, you can go to Binance. We're streaming on Binance today. You can go to Binance. Binance have products over there that offer you 3, 4, 5, 6% as well. But you want to be thinking about that. Don't just sell to Tether and Circle because you won't really make a lot on it unless you lock it in on Binance or things like that. So make sure to go and check that out. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go on to the charts. This is the longest show of the week, remember, because we do look at a lot of market data on a Monday. And listen, you've had a nice relaxing weekend. You deserve to see all of these charts on a Monday morning, okay? There is no better way to kick you in the nuts on a Monday morning than looking at economic calendars and the DXY and Bitcoin dominance is there. When else would we do it? Should we do it on a Friday? No, it ruins the weekend then, doesn't it? So today, there is nothing. There's never anything on a Monday. Tuesday, CPI is coming out. Core CPI is coming out on Tuesday. Interesting. So Wednesday, I'm expecting a few Fed speakers. So there we go. We have Tom. We have the Chicago Fed president. And then we Atlanta Fed president. Thursday, after that, we have job claims, PPI, core PPI, Friday, retail sales. So it's actually, I haven't looked at this before the stream, by the way. We just look at it every Monday. I think this is a pretty interesting week because Tuesday, which is tomorrow, this is going to be an interesting set of data to come out. Inflation, according to Powell, is going to what? Keep creeping up? Or is it going to creep down? Is it under control? What about the tariffs, Mr. Powell? We haven't signed any agreements with China, have we? What are you going to do? So again, last meeting was a disaster. 2 people abstained. 1 person's resigned. Powell's on thin ice. I think the political pressure on Powell is going to make him crack. Now, I think there's not a Fed rate meeting in August. The next one, September. They're going to cut rates. 24-hour liquidations. We might as well look at this because there's been a lot of price movement. Not a lot, really. $300 million. We've seen $1 billion in the past. Again, not too much to worry about. Let's get on and have a look at the DXY and then Bitcoin dominance. And then we're going to have a look at the CME gap as well, because that CME gap has it. Listen, we go to the CME gap, we go to the bottom of the CME gap. There's going to be an awful lot of liquidations today. So again, I'm expecting it to happen. Okay, I'm expecting it to happen. Right, let's wait for this to load. Let's have a look. Right then. So, again, I'm not saying I called the bottom because I didn't. But what I did call was the bottom of the price action in terms of what we were going to do next. And that was, very simply, we were going to get to the DXY's own bull market support band. And then we were going to make a decision to go up or come down. And this, if I'm going to move this line across here, and then next week I'm going to claim victory that I've drawn that line in that position. So just forget that you saw me move that line. We're going to come back up here, and I think ideally we want to start to do this. I think everybody that's telling you this is the worst performing period in the American dollar history is talking out of their arse. It certainly isn't. Tariffs brought us down here. Trump brought us down here with his rhetoric, and we are recovering from that. Most of the trade deals have been signed. There's only really, I think, China and I think the EU have got to sign and ratify that. China's will be sorted out. That keeps getting pushed back. The more it gets pushed back, the less effect it will have on the markets. Bear that in mind. Trump has also signed a deal in Africa to end a war over there. And he's also signed a deal for rare minerals over there as well. So that's all looking rosy for the Americans. I expect us to break up. So I am not expecting much more. Not going to delete from here. There we go. I'm not expecting any more of that action. I think we're going to come back up. But again, it's not really moving around. So for me, it's not going to have that much of a dramatic effect on Bitcoin. That's a good thing. You know, we don't want sharp movements. Sharp movements, the downside. Yes, that's great for Bitcoin in the short term. But we just want it to kind of like move slowly up, move slowly down, have no dramatic effect. Now, one thing to bear in mind with this break in Bitcoin dominance is so far it hasn't been as violent as the post-election wick down. which is back here. Okay, so that is the one that we are comparing this to. Okay, and so far, if we kind of bring them up on the same screen, it hasn't quite been as deep. And last week, I kind of drew this line, and that's what I'm expecting us to do. I'm expecting us to break back into this channel. There's two ways this happens. Bitcoin goes on a tear, takes out all the alts, all the liquidity goes back into Bitcoin, we're back in the channel. That's probably what's likely to happen. Now, it might not happen today or tomorrow. As I've said, we've got what have we got? We've got 7 or 8 weeks left before we kind of get to the first week of October where we really need to be. So I think this move, which takes us to about the 12th of October, I think it's going to resemble something like that. I don't see right now a complete breakdown in Bitcoin dominance. Now, we may, before the rate cuts, we may struggle to get up there, but I think we will get up there. Bitcoin's just had a very big move today. It's up a fair old amount, actually. I mean, that's fairly 59.7. So it's up 1% today, pretty much, from 59.7 to 60.7. So it's had a bit of a bounce today. And again, that's what we're looking for, is the bounce. Where are we going to bounce up? And I think it's going to be any time now. Anytime now, and I'm going to move that line across like I've done on the other one, because I keep saying the movements I'm kind of getting right, but the timing of the movements I'm out normally by 2 weeks. So that's what I've been getting wrong pretty much all year. I've been out by 2 weeks. I've been saying the end of a month and it's been the middle of the following month. So again, Bitcoin is going to move back up, but the price of Bitcoin is going to stay in this range. And I think with the CME gap, I think we're going to come back down into the range today. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to skip over quite a lot of these charts. There's a lot of them. We're not going to go through them all. This should be the CME gap that I am talking about. And you are all wondering what this CME gap is. It's the difference in price of Bitcoin between the close on a Friday and the opening on a Monday. That's all it is. And you see them, and I've highlighted a previous one there that we came down and closed when the chart loads. So this stands for the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. Now, that's the last one we had of any notable size. And you'll see that, yes, we spent a time up here, but we pretty much closed it down here. So this was opened on the, 10th of July, and we closed it on the 30th of July, 31st of July. So it took 3 weeks to close it. Now, this is a smaller one. And I think this, give me a second. I'm going to do this Tony Hart style. There we go. Right. So basically, that's the next one that we have, which is kind of there. There we go. That'll do. Right. So that range there is 118 to 119,000. Give or take a few dollars. I don't care. So what I think could happen is we will come over, fill it, and then carry on. But that, for me, the gap is pretty close to where we are now. We're 2%-ish away from the top. And if we're 2% away from the top, that really isn't an awful lot to keep us from filling it again. I know a lot of people don't look at the CME gap. I know that, but they fill pretty much most of the time. But there is a caveat. If this happened in the middle of October, so let's say this was now the 14th of October, and we were here, and we put another day in like that, and then another day in like that, we are not closing that gap. We're going straight to Valhalla, okay? But we're not. We're in August, and it's happened over the weekend, and I think we're going to fill it. I think we're going to come back down, and we're going to fill that gap. And then maybe we go up again. But the reason it's important is that we have broken out of the range I said we were going to stay in all summer. So I'm expecting us to break back down into this channel and stay here for a while until something dramatic happens. And I've been saying this all along. I can't predict the strategic Bitcoin reserve. I can't predict changes in the Fed. So Powell resigns. I can't predict any of that. I can only base it on what happened the prior year. So I think if you come back to this line here is 119,000. So I think we are going to come back down to there. Maybe we do that. Maybe we do that. Okay? But that's the kind of movement I'm expecting now from Bitcoin. 122, 121,000 is a fantastic price to start a Monday off. We've got inflation data coming in tomorrow. Don't trade tomorrow. It's a terrible day to trade because that's going to wick you out every which way but loose. So for me, that's what I think is going to happen. And again, it's happened in the past. You know, these are just kind of placeholders. They don't have to be at 100% accurate. This is a day, okay? What we'd need to see for this to really break is something like that, where we actually break to the upside. But why are we going to do that now? Why are we going to do that now? So for me, again, I haven't changed my opinion in weeks. Sideways and down to the right, up in October, middle of October, up. Probably put some kind of major top in October. The alts are all going to run in October, November. And then I think we've got to have, if we do have that run in November, we are going to have some come down. Okay? Now, maybe Bitcoin doesn't come down ever again. Maybe all of these experts are right. Okay? Maybe the experts are right. Maybe we never come down again. But we stick to the cycle until the cycle breaks. That's how I have been playing it all along. All of those people that were telling us that May was the all-time high have been proven wrong, because May has never been the all-time high. We did have a double top, but we stick to what we know. Vitalik Buterin regains billionaire status after Ethereum surges past $4,000. How did a single crypto rally turn 333,000 ETH into over $1 billion? Well, it's pretty straightforward, really. The price went up. And there he is. Again, I have my problems with Vitalik, which I've talked about many times on here. But when it comes to it, he's a very clever bloke. As a side point on this, by the way, we did an article called Risky Business, which was about the RISC-V switch from the EVM to that. And the Oracle is actually putting together two videos. He's putting together a video specifically about this. So if you want to know about this change, it's seismic. That's why we're making a video about it. It's a seismic change to Ethereum to the point where it's potentially going to take 4 or 5 years for the change to happen because it's so dramatic. So the Oracle is making a video about this, going to try and explain it in plain English about why this move should probably happen, how it's probably going to happen, and what effect it will have on Ethereum long term. So when it comes to stuff like that, Vitalik, he's the guy. He is the guy. When it comes to maybe being naive, being young, lots of people are guilty of that. But he shouldn't be in charge of a $500 billion enterprise. He should be in charge of the development. It's deja vu for Ethereum's co-founder after ETH's rally past $4,000 once again made him a billionaire. The move triggered massive liquidations with bullish sentiment suggesting that the party might just be getting started. Every time people say this, where is my mouse? There it is. Every time you read this, pack up and go home, okay? When have we had in the past anybody say the party might just be getting started and the party actually starts? Or when have we always seen corrections to the downside? When people start talking about $50,000 Ethereum, pack up and go home, okay? And then come back when we're at 3,500. It's always the way. Ethereum was dead. Ethereum's too slow. Ethereum's been taken over by Solana. Vitalik's an idiot. Nobody wants us to use Ethereum. It's too expensive. We've heard that for 2.5 years. It's always $4,000. It's $3,000. You go back over the last 500 years. Ethereum's been $3,000 on this date. You've seen the memes. Now we're at $4,300. Oh, the party's just getting started. Aren't we up like 150% in a few months? How is the party just getting started? The party started a month and a half ago. There's people in the corner being sick from excitement. The party isn't just getting started. The party is, for maybe now, starting to slow down. The price surge has once again propelled Vitalik into the billionaire status. Obviously, it's easy to work out. 333,000 times 4 is 1.2, 1.3 billion. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science. And he's become a billionaire, according to the expert. Portfolio is dominated by 240,000 Ethereum, supplemented by smaller holdings in tokens like AEWETH. I'm not even going to try and pronounce those. And Moondang, which is now valued at 1.4 billion. Congratulations to you, sir, on becoming a billionaire. The milestone came after ETH jumped 6.4% to 4,332, marking its strongest move since December 2024. Again, incredibly good, incredibly happy for him. Not got a problem with anybody being a billionaire, really. It is, after all, his project, so he should be the guy to take home the bacon, shouldn't he? Now, as far as Ethereum goes, I checked this morning. Okay, you can go back and have a look yourself. But I drew these lines. I drew these lines. I don't know when I drew them, but I drew them. And when they appear on your screen, I want to see or hear an audible gasp. Look at those lines. Those red lines that I drew. Look at that. I drew that. Don't know when I drew that. I mean, I drew this clearly. And I probably drew it sometime here. Probably. I don't know. I haven't looked at Ethereum for a week and a half, 2 weeks. So we've come past the level I expected us to hit, which is this level here. I think I said $3,500 to $4,000 once we get the ETF staking news. That's what I think I said. And we've clearly gone above that now. We're 4,270. Obviously, cascading liquidations to the upside work the same way as cascading liquidations to the downside. It just propels it even higher. I would expect Ethereum, as everybody's telling you the party started, but I am the humbug, I would expect us to come back down here. Ethereum, okay, Ethereum cannot hold $4,000. It can't do it, okay? We've talked about this before. It's like it gets vertigo. There used to be a footballer called Gary Pallister, and every time he crossed the halfway line, the joke was he'd get a nosebleed and pass out. And that applies to Ethereum. Let's just go back a little bit and drag my little line down here. Okay, so that's Ethereum, and that's $4,000. And we're not going to go back. We can go back in time, but let's just look at this. It came close. It fainted. It came close. It fainted. It came close. It fainted. Straight down, straight down, straight down. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to do this action and come straight back down here. What I am saying is, if this is the time that it breaks out, and this is the moment for Ethereum to shine, and this is where we are going to see Ethereum go to $5,000, then I want to see that. Okay, I want to see us hold $4,000. I want to see us bounce off $4,000. Okay, because if we don't, we're going to come straight back into this range in here. Okay, and we've been there. It's like base camp. It's like returning to base camp. So I want to see us hold $4,000, which we haven't done on the previous attempts, have we? Because as I've shown you, we've had 3 nosebleeds. Gary Pallister. Let's call Ethereum for today's stream Gary Pallister. It crosses the halfway line and it comes straight back. That's what I think was going to happen with Ethereum. Now, there are many things on the horizon that are going to push Ethereum higher. The Ethereum staking, maybe this is front-running that. Maybe everybody now knows it's going to be announced next week or the week after. Maybe that's why it's suddenly ripping over a weekend. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not ripping over the weekend because of that, but that would be a reason for us to be where we are. So expect us to bounce off 4,000 or come straight back to 3,800, 3,600, something in that range, because that's what happens. And again, don't want to be negative, don't want to burst anybody's bubbles, but there's a lot of people out there who are talking up things that never come to pass. And I'm looking at you, Robert Kawasaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, who told me I'd have a $250,000 Bitcoin at the end of last year. That never happened, my friend. In fact, we haven't gone anywhere near that price, and we're almost at the end of the bull run. So don't believe everybody that you see with a microphone and a camera, okay? Because some people shouldn't be allowed anywhere near a microphone and a camera. And hopefully, it's one of the things that AI will fix in the future. XRP is $11 the next stop as it breaks out of bullish flag pattern. No, it's not. Look at the facts. The court cases, they've all gone. There's no court case left. XRP, court case is gone. They've signed something like 150 memorandums of understanding with banks. They're all signed. What else has happened? Their stable coin is growing from strength to strength. They are partnering up and buddying up with Cardano, Ethereum, Solana. Everything is rosy, and XRP hasn't moved in 3 days. Hasn't moved. Where did it move from? 280, 275 to 330? Not really dramatic move, considering that we're supposed to be expecting XRP to go to $100. Now, is it? Now, Ali Martinez I like. And Dark Defender, I'd not heard of, but probably a lot better at charts than I am. They've got the bullish flag breakout for XRP. Others are targeting a range from $8 to $11 for the top coin. August has delivered strong XRP gains in the past years. So, $8 to $11. I said what? Did I say $5 to $7 for XRP? I think I said $5 to $7. Now, I did also say that we might go to $9, but that was with all the bullish hype around it. But I think $5 to $7 is what I said in my video a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. So I'm going to stick with that because the market cap is kind of what I use as the basis for what I think we're going to do. So what do I mean by that? Market cap of total crypto, $6 to $10 trillion. That's the entire market cap of crypto. And obviously, over time, it will flow between Bitcoin and Ethereum and the alts. Of course, I don't mean the max all-time high of everything on the same day, because Bitcoin may hit all-time highs on a different day to Ethereum and XRP and Solana. But what I mean is the total market cap at peak hysteria, 6 to 10 trillion. I don't see us going to $11 on XRP. I can see us going to $6 and $7 because that puts us what? At almost, is that almost $500 billion for XRP? I think, if we go and have a look. XRP would be at about, actually, yeah, it would. XRP would go to 400 to 500 billion. Now, I think that is wholly realistic. And that puts us at what? $6 to $7. And I'll stick with that. I don't think we're going to go any higher. Going back to the point made before that cretin made, he said that Ethereum could flip Bitcoin. So what that means is Ethereum is going to have to outperform Bitcoin by a 5x. So if we say, for argument's sake, that Bitcoin only goes to $150,000 this cycle, that puts the total market cap at, let's say, 2.8 trillion. Ethereum is going to have to go up 580% from where we are. 580% if Bitcoin only goes up 20%. What planet are these people from that's going to happen? What planet? Now, could Ethereum go to $1 trillion? Probably. Possibly. That would put it at $8,500 an Ethereum, higher than I predicted. I think I've said 7.5, 6 to 8,000 maybe, or something like that. So we're going to go to $1 trillion. Bitcoin is likely to go somewhere near $3 trillion. That gives us a market cap of what? About 6 trillion? Almost. So we're at the bottom end of my range. So where are they getting the value coming into Ethereum that's going to put that up 6x? They're just crazy people. They're crazy. You need to stay away from those people. Okay? I have a joke with my pharmacist that I go and see. He tells me he's holding XRP to $100. I told him I'm selling my XRP at $7. I know which one's going to have a big bag of XRP, XRP, USDC by the end of this cycle, and who's still going to be holding their XRP, because I don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, XRP dominance is gradually returning. In his recent post on X, it could push the price to higher levels of recent supports. Again, some of these charts are lovely, but the money that has to get them there, that's my problem. We're not talking about a small coin here. We're talking about a very, very large coin. And I know we don't need to add 200 billion to move the coin that amount. We probably don't need anywhere near that. But where is the money going to come in? Is it going to come in from the Bitcoin and the Ethereum gains into XRP to rip it up? Maybe we go to $9. I don't see 100. I don't see 11. Okay? And maybe we do go there, but I'll be dollar cost averaging out at that point anyway. So if I catch a $9 or a $10 XRP, wonderful. But what I'm saying to you is, don't hold all of your coins all the way to the end. Okay? You're driving your car towards the edge of the cliff. You know you've got a stopping distance of 100 yards. Don't wait to brake until you're 101 yards away from the edge of that cliff. Okay? Start to brake when you're 300 or 400 yards away. That's the best way I can give you of selling out. Why? Because that cliff is the price drop-off at the end of the bull run. So XRP, let's say it does go to $11. How long do you think it's going to stay there? Do you think it's going to stay there for a month? 6 months? A year? A week? A day? You don't know. I don't know. Maybe it stays there for 4 hours. So are you going to hold your entire bag of everything for a 4-hour slot that you might miss because it might happen while you're asleep? That's why you dollar cost average in. That's why you dollar cost average out. You're never going to catch the top. If you walk away with an average price of XRP of $7 this bull run, and you bought it when we did at 35, 40 cents, you've done what? An 18x on XRP? The third biggest cryptocurrency in the world? You've done incredibly well. Right then, let's move on. I haven't looked at chat in a very long time. Has anybody said anything? Oh, quite a few comments. Audio is fine. XCN this week. Sui, I think the next top for Sui is going to be $5. Simon, good morning. 122k. Don't believe $122,000. I think it's going to come back down to close the CME gap, which I think is 118,000. Kishan, this week's side move, I expect, or wick down. Good morning. What I would say is the CPI data is going to come out tomorrow. Now, let's say the CPI data beats expectations. Let's say instead of being 2.8, it's 2.6 or 2.7. That's going to rally the market, and the market will go higher. But Bitcoin, I think, will go higher, not the market. And if Bitcoin goes higher, Bitcoin dominance goes higher. And then maybe there's a sell-off of the alts, because not everything runs at the same time. Aerodrome. I've been talking about Aerodrome. I mentioned Aerodrome. I said $1 was the next target. I checked yesterday. I think it's at 121, 122. Maybe it's even higher. So again, you've got to be careful with being told the party is just starting. Okay, you got to be careful when people tell you that. That's normally the sign that the party is over. Okay, you phone your mate. It's 1:30 in the morning, and he's a bit drunk, and he'll say, "Hey, come down, come into the party." You turn up at 2:00 in the morning, and everybody's asleep. Okay, that's the kind of party I think people are talking about, because it's August. We're not October. If it's October, I am bringing Jack Daniels, but it's not October. It's August. We're going to go down and to the side, and we don't know what the CPI data will bring. CPI data brings great news. I think we do go a bit higher on Bitcoin, but I still think we're going to come back into the range. Can Cardano price still hit $2? Again, absolutely. I think my target for Cardano was, again, I think it was $3 to $5 in this bull run. We're 80 cents. It's only a 4x away. I think that's easily achievable. It's got a lower market cap than XRP, so it's not as difficult to move up. The tokenomics are not, the tokenomics aren't bad on any of the top 10 coins, really. So Cardano is going to move up. We're actually at 82 cents. We're not a million miles away from $1. We get to $1. Can we get to $2? Absolutely we can. XRP went on a massive, great big run when everybody thought that Charles and Donald were going to become best buddies. He then kind of got friend-zoned by Donald. Donald does that to a lot of people. I don't know if you've noticed. A lot of people get friend-zoned by Donald. I think Brad Garlinghouse got friend-zoned by Donald because he was trying to get XRP into the strategic reserve. And then Donald was told by the right people that that was a terrible mistake to make. And then Brad, I don't think, has been back since. ADA has important support levels at, again, for me, 60 and 80 cents. Psychological numbers, me, for XRP. Short-term upside potential. Again, we're going to struggle unless the alts do have the run. And again, it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, alts in that cycle. If Bitcoin starts to run, though, that stops. And Bitcoin has its time. Okay, it's like the alpha male. If it's still hungry, it wants to go back and eat the gazelle, then all of the little minion lions, they've all got to get out of the way. So it depends on Bitcoin. But if we do get a mini alt season in the summer, and XRP and Solana and ADA do go, then maybe we see $1.30, $1.40 again. And then maybe we look towards the end of the bull run and we say, well, it's not a million miles away from $1.40 to $3. And I think we can easily do it. And there's so much positive news on the horizon about ADA. You've got the Midnight airdrop. You've got the Glacier airdrop. You've got the eyes that's going to bring to Cardano. You've got the Bitcoin. Cardano is trying to become basically a side chain, a layer 2, I don't know, whatever terminology you want to use for it, of Bitcoin. That would be big news. Now, the only downside for me for Cardano is they haven't sorted out their stable coins, and that is pretty much unforgivable right now. I mentioned the other day that they're making their own algorithmic stable coin. Wonderful. Where's Tether? Where's Circle? Okay, just bring them to your chain. If you've got to pay them, but bring them to your chain. You're not going to get very far without liquidity. Solana learnt that lesson probably 2 or 3 years ago and spent all of their time trying to drive liquidity into Solana. First, they brought more USDC. Then they brought PayPal USDC. Then they brought all of the yield-bearing stable coins. They brought Ondo over. And they know that liquidity is so important to their market. That's what they have focused on, and they've done a brilliant job. I don't care what the detractors say about Solana. I don't care if people talk about Solana with regards to meme coins. That was a year ago. Solana is a bona fide DeFi platform now. Not quite on the scale of Ethereum, but it's certainly in the top 3. Cardano has to join that party, and it has to bring liquidity, or it will die. And Charles needs to understand this. I have not used the Cardano blockchain in 3 years. I haven't been near it. I hold the token, yes, but I haven't been near the blockchain in 3 years. Why hasn't Phantom added Cardano? Why? Where's the conversation to add Cardano to the most popular wallets? Where are those conversations happening? Where's the conversation about bringing stablecoins to the markets? Where are these conversations? And why are they taking so long? That's my issue with Cardano. But on the whole, I still think it's going to go to $3. Yeah, $3. $3 to $5, I think I said. It's certainly going to go there. It's a decent project. It's just got faults, as does every project. They all have faults. And all I'm doing is highlighting the faults, but they're not showstoppers. Now, again, I will bring you back. Simon won poker again. That's 2 weeks on the trot for Chirpy Chimp. Do I think... right, basically, if we have a mini alt season now, Sui's going to hit $5. And then, yes, it will correct to the downside. But my prediction for August and September is that we sidle down. Now, the CPI data changes all that, okay? So what I would do, if I was you, and you've got bags of Sui, and you want to trade those bags of Sui, you wait for the CPI data tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be too late. But if we see a pump I would look at taking some profits out of SUI at $5, $4.80. Absolutely. But this isn't financial advice. This is what I would do. However, if it drops and goes back a little bit further to the downside, I'd buy more SUI. It's a solid project. It's going to go places. And that's why I think you need to be... The liquidity is, believe it or not, I looked at the chart this morning. There is a big pile of liquidity. It's 1-1 something. I don't know if it's 116 or 118. We see a lot of longs get liquidated, and I can't remember where I saw it today. I think it was either Dan Crypto, I think, put it up, and I was looking at the 4 different... No, it wasn't. It was the other guy. It was IT somebody or other. He put up the 4 zones of where the liquidations would happen. And I think we're going to go to number 4, which is the furthest to the left, which I think might be 116 and 118,000. That's where I think we're going to go. I think we're going to go to that liquidity spot because it's the biggest chunk of liquidity. There is some higher. I think it's up at 128, but I just don't see that happening today. Right then, so we are at 11:50. How many things have we got to talk about? 3 things to talk about. So we've got 3 minutes an article. But remember, we try and do these streams for 1 hour, 1 hour only. I appreciate you are all busy cashing in your gains. I appreciate that. Stock tokenization's biggest hurdle is regulatory compliance, not technology. Now, I don't know if you remember, last summer, we spoke to a young lady on here. We did an interview, and she was working for a company in Gibraltar, and her job was to work on compliance for things like real-world assets. And she brought up this absolute cast iron reason, okay? You can tokenize anything. Anything in the world that has a value, you can tokenize it. Painting, car, land, building, anything can be tokenized because it exists as a piece of paper or a PDF, okay? So you can tokenize anything. That isn't the problem. The problem is, how do you create a system that is compliant with all of the rules and regulations? So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to sell my house, and my house is on the blockchain, and I want to sell my house to somebody, and a wallet address wants to send me $1 million for my house. And I don't know who that wallet address is from, but if I press a button, I can transfer the deeds to escrow, and the $1 million gets transferred to escrow, and then AI or somebody sits in the middle and presses a button, and I get the $1 million and he gets my house. Okay? That's possible. It's possible today. Where's the regulatory compliance? What if that gentleman is from Russia? What if that gentleman has got the $1 million from illicit gains? KYC, AML, local laws. Okay? So, if that gentleman is from a country which is not allowed to profit from a certain country, it would be allowed. If he's from Russia, it won't be allowed. So the regulatory compliance is the key. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on. Lots of stocks and shares are being tokenized. We've got X Tesla, Tesla X, all of these things going around. Wonderful, okay? Dividends don't get paid out because they're not technically the stock, so it's synthetic stock, all these kind of things. But why can't I get my dividend? All of these kind of things are going on. And the question I always ask on this channel, just because you can doesn't mean you should. I say it all the time. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You can go out tomorrow and spend your life savings on a car. It doesn't mean you should. Okay? So regulatory compliance is there to make sure that certain things don't happen. Money laundering. We don't want money laundering. We don't want people from certain banned jurisdictions to do things and profit from them. Of course we don't. So the question is, how do you get compliance into the tokenization industry? And there are many ways to do this. There is a very intelligent looking man. Stock tokenization requires more than tech to succeed, says Alec Go. We're not going to read all this out. Stock tokenization isn't new. We know about that. FTX, they were doing shares. I remember FTX were doing shares back in the day. You know what? I tried to use FTX and I hated it, hated the platform. But the app was really, really good. But you could buy stocks and shares on there, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. I am not saying, however, that was legal back at the day, because it was FTX. They had things on spreadsheets. So the trick here is to create a simple process that each exchange and DEX adheres to. That, I think, is the key. And what I think is really suitable for stuff like this, and you're going to laugh at things like this, but I think you should look at a dedicated layer 2 for tokenized stocks and shares and assets. And when I mean that, I'm talking about somebody like Mantra. Now, this isn't a paid shill of Mantra. This isn't me being told to talk about Mantra. I'm just giving you it as an example. Mantra Chain, which is its own blockchain, it has a lot of this stuff built in, and it's not the only one. I'm just using it as an example. And what happens is they spend all of their time building regulatory compliant systems on their blockchain. Of course, you can go and build it directly onto whatever you want to build it directly onto, but it's just more heartache. It's easier to have your own chain with your own set of rules. And they will start with America and Europe and the UK and Hong Kong and Singapore and all the major places. And eventually, over time, all of the regulatory compliance will start to work. Okay? But I think the best way to do this is through its own blockchain. And we can't talk too much about it simply because we're going to run out of time. And I don't want to be here at 12:30 talking about Pi. But I'm going to include it, even though I'm not a fan. I don't know what it is about Binance Square, but I think I need to use different tags when I promote it, because the first few times I did this, I was getting 300 or 400 views on Binance Square, and now I'm getting 80. So I think I'm doing something horribly wrong, but I am talking to them about this, and maybe they will be able to help me out. Right then, let's move on. Simon might go short. Again, can't give financial advice, but I would. Until we close that CME gap. Which is, I think, 118,000, something like that. I would, certainly. If it was me, and it's not me, so I can't say whether it is or not. Pi Network eyes major upswing as new demand emerges. Again, not a fan of the blockchain. Took forever to launch. You've got to upload all your personal information. Takes forever to get the token out. Token's gone from $20, $15 before it actually went live. It went to a couple of dollars. Now it's at what? 30 cents, 40 cents? It's absolute trash. It's coming in at... Oh no, it's targeting 52 cents. Again, I'm going to cover this because I know a lot of people have Pi and probably don't like me bad-mouthing it. And that's fair. Okay, that is fair. But we'll do the in brief because we don't have a lot of time. Pi Network token broke above its horizontal channel resistance, signaling a potential bullish breakout with a 16% intraday gain, sustained upward momentum. The rally is supported by a 2% price increase and a nearly 150% surge in trading volume, indicating strong buying interest and reducing chances of a false breakout. Pi's price has moved above its 20-day EMA, confirming growing demand and short-term bullish momentum. If momentum continues, the price could target 52. What I would say about this, I traded Celestia 2 years ago. And it was in a channel. I think the channel was like $11 to $20. And I got this tip, by the way, from watching another YouTuber. An old guy. I don't think he had a lot of followers or subscribers. And I watched him. And he was like, this is going to do this. And it's going to do this. And it's going to do this. And I watched it for a couple of weeks and did exactly what he said. So I just followed him. And I think I sold 3 or 4 times at $20 or $19.80. And I think I bought 3 or 4 times at $11. I don't like the token. I don't like the chain. I think it was farmed. Price has shown me to be right over time. Pi Network may end up in a similar pattern. So even though you don't like the project, even though you don't really know anything about the project, if you follow the chart and it sticks in a channel and it keeps coming off the top to the bottom, from the top to the bottom, you'll catch probably 3 or 4 of them before it breaks out, especially in the next couple of weeks. But I would never touch this token. I don't hold any... Actually, no, that's not true. I do hold it. It's on the app. I've never bothered to do KYC on this token. I was farming this token, I don't know how many, 4, 5, 6 years ago, whenever it was. But for me, Maybe you can make some money off longing and shorting it. Maybe you can, and good for you. But I just think it's an absolute waste of time. But that doesn't mean you can't trade the chart. Okay, the chart. I mean, there are plenty of other charts out there probably do far better. But I'm just saying, if you do hold Pi and you want to get out, maybe wait. If you've already, you have, as long as you haven't bought it, as long as it's yours, it's 100% profit. If it's 100% profit and you can get out at 50 cents, get out at 50 cents. If you think it's going to go to $1, wait for $1. I'm not a fan of it, but it appears to be getting some kind of momentum behind it. Finally, the future belongs to those who own their AI. AI replaces white-collar jobs. The future economy will belong to those owning AI agents rather than renting access from big tech. Again, one thing I would say about AI is I'm quite old. In fact, well, you know what? I'm going to go onto the screen and talk about this because I think it's important. Where are we? Go away. Let me bring that up. There we go. So, basically, when the computer came out, we were all getting replaced by computers. And that was about 40 years ago. No, maybe not 40. 35 years ago, 35 years ago, we were all getting replaced by computers. Then, everything was getting replaced by the internet. And now everything's getting replaced by AI. And I just want to point something out. Okay? You are on whole, on a mass, you are not all going to get replaced by AI or robots. Some of the jobs that you do will be, but some of the jobs have already been replaced, you know. Some of the jobs that you used to do manually, they've all gone, okay? They've been replaced by computers. But computers didn't replace humans, per se. They added to humans, and you got more work done, so you became more productive. And AI will make you more productive, absolutely. And AI will fix a lot of problems. But in fixing a lot of problems, it will make a lot more problems, of course. You're likely to see call centers all powered by AI. So who really loses out there? India. So very, 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 very cheap labor will likely submit to AI. But I don't think your local fish and chip shop, your local supermarket, your local accountant, your local lawyer, I don't think they're all going to be got rid of because governments will not allow that to happen. There will be AI in the medical industry. Some doctors may have to move into different fields, but don't believe everything you read about AI. It's going to be a net positive. The same way the internet has been a net positive, the same way computers are a net positive. They're all net positives, but it doesn't mean that you are going to be replaced by a robot called Prime or whatever it's called. So thank you everybody for tuning in. It's 12:02. I am back tomorrow. I am streaming Monday and Tuesday and Friday at this time. Wednesday night we are streaming the Maple Finance quiz, which I'm going to try and write now, and I'm not going to put the answer A to every single option 1, sorry, to every single question. And we will see you all tomorrow. But thank you, Simon. Thank you. I can't pronounce some people's names. I'm very sorry. But thank you to everybody that's been watching. Danny is here as well. Kishan is here. Thank you to you all. I will see you all. Oh, Mags is here as well. Hi, Mags. I will see you all on Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.